Rees-Zammit has signed for the Kansas City Chiefs. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Chip Over the Top Rugby podcast. My name is Ryan. If you are new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Now, I know what you're thinking, Ryan, you're a rugby podcast. Why on earth are you discussing Rees-Zammit signing for the American football team known as the Kansas City Chiefs, the back-to-back Super Bowl champions? Well, if you didn't know, I've touched upon this previously. I made a video on it on social media back when it was first announced, and so many people were adamant that he was not going to make it in the NFL. And I know he's only just signed and he hasn't exactly made the 53-man roster yet, but as a Welshman, as a Cymro, un-American, a Welshman that lives in America, I feel like I am in the best position to make a video on Rees-Zammit, the Welshman, the former rugby player. I play rugby here in America, who has now, he quit international rugby, he quit rugby altogether, at least for the time being, as we know, to for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to join the international player pathway in the NFL, which is a 10-week intensive crash course, and is now, as of Friday, signed for the Kansas City Chiefs. So I feel like I'm in the best position to be able to discuss this because obviously I'm from Wales. I live in America now. I'm not a Kansas City Chiefs fan, but I might have to become one due to this signing because I think it's absolutely fantastic. Wales is once again thrust into the limelight and put out into the world and is getting more and more attention. Now, I doubt very much prior to this signing that everybody from Kansas knew of Wales. If they did, I would be shocked. But now, with this signing, Wales once again gets on the map. And there are a lot of people who are making videos specifically from an American football standpoint who are reviewing Rees-Zammit's highlights and just all out curious as to why they signed Rees-Zammit. So, again, why am I making this video? You're a rugby channel. Well, I mean, it's just a vital sort of, we're at a crossroads now where it's like American football meets rugby, international caliber rugby players who are elite at the position. Like Rees-Zammit was top tier, like elite of the elite when it comes to wingers from a raw talent standpoint. From an athleticism standpoint, he was at the top of his game at such a young age to up and leave and move to American football and pursue his dream. It's just a very poignant moment, and I want to touch upon it and I want to discuss it. I enjoy American football. Obviously, I live in America, have done now for the past 6 years. I'm involved in fantasy football, so I watch a lot of American football as well as watching rugby. So I feel like I just want to make this video because right now it's a hot topic and I feel like a lot of people aren't quite grasping the magnitude of this. And I suppose a lot of Kansas City Chiefs fans, if you are a Kansas City Chiefs fan, let me know below, give this video a like and whatnot. Because I'm curious, did you know of him? Did you watch rugby? How is this going to transfer into American football? And I want to discuss all that with you right now. So basically, Rees-Zammit, he's 23 years old. He's from Penarth, which is sort of my neck of the woods. It's about 30-minute drive to Penarth from where I grew up. He's at his pro day. So this is one thing that I'm not entirely sure on. On his pro day, he measured in at 6'3", 209 pounds. And I don't remember what other measurables they test, but on Sleeper, and I'll put that on the screen, it's showing him as 194 pounds, which is obviously not true. And a lot of people are coming through with their sort of analyses and reviews on Rees-Zammit saying that he is 194, but he isn't. He's 209, right? And so, obviously, it was a massive shock at the end of the day when he was like, yeah, I'm going to pursue this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and hats off to him to have the minerals to be able to do it. I mean, similar to what I did, I had to move to America, right? Obviously, my wife's American, but yeah, just absolutely class. So if you didn't know, basically, Rees-Zammit has been a professional rugby player since the age of 18. He is one of the youngest rugby players for Gloucester. He was the youngest British and Irish Lion, which is like you pull together the best of the best from Wales, England, Scotland, and Ireland. Okay, he was the youngest player to represent the British and Irish Lions in the last, I think it was 60 years. So that's like, so I'm just trying to paint the picture for you, because a lot of people are like, he ran a 4.43, right? Like, he's never played in the NFL, but I'm just trying to build a picture for you that he's an elite athlete. He's already at the top of the game in one sport, and now he's crossing over into American football. So he had, in 32 Welsh caps, which is Wales, he represented his country. He scored 14 tries in 32 games. For Gloucester, which was his professional club that he played for 3 years, 4 years, I suppose. He scored 42 tries in 77 matches. So his strike rate is pretty good. And again, he's the youngest British and Irish Lion. And like, the world was his oyster in rugby. In his position, they call him Lewis Rees Lightning for a reason. So I just want to point this out. A lot of people weren't exactly sure how to say his name, but it's Lewis, like Lewis, but obviously it's spelled Louis, and then Rees-Zammit. So yeah, incredible news for Welsh rugby. Well, it's not really, because when he left, it was quite shocking and devastating. He's like one of our best players that has come through. One of our best naturally gifted speedsters, finishers, like just all-round class individual, as you are seeing. You've undoubtedly seen the highlights and the tape on him. So yeah, he basically had a 10-week intensive crash course through the IMG, which was in Florida, and from day one just excelled, right? Just some of the highlights, his movement, his ability to pick up quickly. And it's not like he hasn't dabbled in American football before. Like, I'm pretty sure the season, just like the preseason, he was in America working on footwork and speed with coaches. And I'm pretty sure the season before that, so like summertime in America, was over here working on with like speed coaches and things like that on his footwork, right? And it showed, because he is rapid. If you didn't know, on his pro day, so after a 10-week intensive course, seeing the highlights and the clips, they had pro day, just like, NFL draft eligible players coming in. They have their pro day on March 20th. On March 20th, he, like, again, measured at 6'3", 209. His 40 time, he measured at 4.44. That was his fastest, which he was very disappointed with, which is crazy, because 4.44 is pretty quick. Obviously, it didn't break 2024's draft combine, the top 10, but he's ran in the 4.3s. Okay, and you have to think, like, a lot of people were like, oh, Xavier Worthy broke the combine record with 4.21, but he weighed 165 pounds. Rees-Zammit is 209. That's 45 pounds heavier, right? 6'3". He had a 29-inch vertical, which is pretty poor in terms of just the vertical at the combine itself, but he can obviously jump up. We've seen the tape, and he had a 9'7" broad jump. Now, I'm not sure what other combine tests he did or combine drills, but these are the main ones really for the wide receiver position that we need to concern ourselves with. In rugby, I will say this, he's had a top speed measured during a game of 24.2 miles an hour. Now, I know that is not without pads, so it'd be interesting to see what he gets clocked at. Obviously, in the season just gone in the NFL, DK Metcalf had a 22 miles an hour, Tyreek 22, Devon Achan 22, Raheem Mostert. These are the fastest players in the NFL. all clocking in at 22 miles an hour. So I'm sure if he's up there and he can run around 22 miles an hour in full pads, the Kansas City Chiefs are like laughing here, right? Because their investment in this is very, very low and minimal. And it just looks very good for them. So his pro day was a success, I suppose, because from that and what the scouts had seen during the 10-week intensive course in the IMG, he had four visits, the Broncos, the Jets, the Browns, and then the Chiefs. And I'm pretty sure there was a few others who were interested as well. And it turns out that he has signed now for the Kansas City Chiefs, which is absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I just want to talk about a few different things here, because obviously you're going to look at his 40 time, you're going to look at his vert, and you're going to look at his broad jump, and you're going to think, well, he's not that explosive. He may have a good top speed and whatnot, but how is a top rugby athlete going to be able to transfer into American football? Well, in 10 weeks, right, he's had an intensive crash course on American football, route running, different sort of running techniques, how to catch the ball, just even wearing pads and a helmet, getting used to that in 10 weeks. And he's already impressed the scouts enough to then get picked up by the Kansas City Chiefs. So just let that sink in for a second. That was just 10 weeks. Imagine what he can do in 4 months. Like, you've got the OTAs, right? He's undoubtedly going to go to the rookies, OTAs, right? At the training camps, preseason, and then who knows what happens from there. The Kansas City Chiefs, I'm not entirely sure on the contract, like value, but it was for 3 years. And it's not really going to cost them anything, because each NFL team now has an international player pathway roster spot on their practice squad. Free of charge, pretty much. So it's no guarantee that he's going to make the 53-man roster. But with his elite athleticism, just like out and out on a field. Now, I know the measurables don't match that, but watching his film, watching how quick he is, watching how quick he can adapt is just, he's going to push because he's competitive. He's the best in the world at his sport. Now, here's another thing that I want to touch upon, because you're going to look at the measurables and you're going to think, hang on, only a 29-inch vert, but he has a top speed of 24.2 miles an hour. Only a 9'7" broad jump, but has a top speed of 24.2 miles an hour. How does that correlate? Well, again, rugby players have to be able to last a full 80 minutes, both in attack and defense. There are no separate teams. There's no an offensive team, no defensive team, or special teams. You are all three. For 80 minutes, you're attacking, you're defending. You're tackling, you're rucking, you're sprinting, you're catching high balls, you're passing, you're scoring tries, you're going into contact, you're rucking over, you're breaking tackles consistently. So your body's going to be different. You're going to have to train differently from going from conditioning for rugby to conditioning to American football. Now, in 10 weeks, he went from being a rugby player to sort of being an American football player. So I just want you to think about that for a second, right? He's going to have so much more time with the Kansas City Chiefs now going through until preseason training to just learn the game, improve dramatically. He's a competitor. He's tough. And I know, here's the funny thing, right? I've seen so many comments like, oh, he's a pretty boy. He's a pretty boy. He looks soft. Like, what is he, like, what he's wearing and stuff like that. Obviously, it's going to be different, right? He's going to stand out like a sore thumb because he's not from America. He doesn't dress like an American. Like, I still don't dress like an American. I don't look like an American in terms of, like, what you would expect a typical sort of American to look like. I dress a certain way and you can sort of tell that I'm not American. Like I wear certain things, like my gilet, with a short sleeve. Apparently that's not a thing that people do in America, but you have to think about it. He's not from America. And that's what makes him unique as well. Obviously, he might adapt and change slightly over the years that he's here. But happy days. I'm really excited and looking forward to what is going to happen and how it's going to happen over the next sort of, at least, up until preseason and then beyond that. I'm very excited for that. It was quite funny. A lot of people were saying, like, is he tough? Is he a dog and things like that? Because obviously you expect American football players to be brutish and tough, but he's a rugby player. He takes contact. He takes tackles. Now, I know what you're thinking. The tackle technique is very different in rugby to American football. How is that going to translate? How is he going to be able to deal with sort of someone leading with their shoulders? Because in rugby, if you lead with the shoulder, that's an illegal tackle. How is he going to be able to cope with the impact of that in rugby? Well, in football, we don't know until it happens, right? But I feel like he's durable. In rugby, you are taught how to sort of go into contact, land correctly. So I feel like he's going to be very competent and confident in picking up those skills and having them transfer over onto the field. Now, here's one thing that I haven't talked about yet is the new kickoff rule. And a lot of people have been talking about this because it is now switching to what the USFL, the XFL, does, where the players line up opposite each other and the kicker is a little bit further back. So the likelihood of there being a touchback diminishes. So immediately in my mind, right, in rugby, Rees-Zammit primary position is on the wing. So think wide receiver. But he's also played fullback. But here's the thing, a winger in rugby also has to be able to know how to play the role of fullback. And a fullback basically is last line of defense, but they also marshal any kicks that come their way. So they're catching high ball, seeing what's in front of them, and running. Maybe in rugby you can kick back. And I wish that you could do that in American football. I do wish that you could kick in open play in American football because he would excel. Oh my goodness, he would be elite. Like if you've seen some of his highlights, that is his bread and butter. And he can turn on the wheels after he kicks as well. Unbelievable. So yeah, with the new kickoff rule and the ability to lateral, like that's your bread and butter in rugby. Being able to pass sideways and backwards, your bread and butter. Not only can you pass, but you can catch as well. Like, come on, this is just genius move by Andy Reid. And it's a win-win situation. I feel like it brings awareness to rugby. It brings awareness to Wales. It brings awareness to just rugby players and their talent. But now you're going to have a crossover of potential rugby fans, of which there are a lot of us, wanting to watch the Kansas City Chiefs. Last year, there was the Swifties. Now you've got the rugby lads as well. Possibly. Insane. From a marketing standpoint, it's genius. Absolutely genius. Now, here's the thing. I made a video earlier, and I commented on one of the Instagram posts. And I said that he is more well-known than half the Kansas City Chiefs roster. And people looked at me like I was nuts. Like he has over 400,000 Instagram. I know social media doesn't matter, right? But if you think about it, you're bringing 400,000 new eyes to the Kansas City Chiefs who possibly never knew of the Kansas City Chiefs. The rugby world is going to be tuning into this. So you're just bringing more attention to American football. But hey, Rees-Zammit signing for the Kansas City Chiefs for me, it's incredible. Like to have another Welshman in, the sport of him. Well, he's the first American football player who's Welsh. So, yeah, happy days. I'm really excited for it. I'm really looking forward to it. It was quite brutal for Welsh rugby fans because he is, like I said, he was our David Beckham. He was our, I don't want to say Patrick Mahomes, but he was our Travis Kelce. Someone you would rely on to score touchdowns, to score tries, who could turn the tide of a game in an instant. But yeah, I'm excited. Like, just an out and out class individual, very well spoken. Not your typical American football player in terms of, like, obviously a lot of people are like, how is he going to make an American football team because he hasn't been playing college football. I think a lot of people think, like, okay, so yes, American football is an incredibly difficult sport. The likelihood of you making the NFL from every player who goes into American football from a young age, right? You start playing flag, then you get into tackle football, then you go to high school, then you go to college maybe. And the likelihood of you going from college to the NFL diminishes and diminishes and diminishes. There's only, 237 people that get drafted every single year out of thousands who go to college to play football. So, like, if you make the NFL, you're in the top 0.001% of American football players who have ever played the game. But what you need to fail to remember is that Rees-Zammit, as a rugby player, like, think of it's the exact same thing in rugby, at least in Wales, right? You have hundreds and hundreds of teams, 15 players on a team, going through age grade rugby and up. There aren't that many professional teams. I mean, there are, okay, first and foremost, there are, but to then go from a professional team to representing your country, and then to being the youngest British and Irish Lion in 60 years. That's about 40 players who get picked to represent the 4 countries every 4 years. And he was one of them. He is like the elite of the elite in his position. And he's already got to the top. And now he's trying his hand at American football. Yes, he hasn't played college ball. Yes, he has never played a down of real life football, except on Madden. So we don't know if he's going to succeed, but I am very confident in his raw ability, his athleticism, and his desire to succeed, to actually succeed. He's played some of the biggest games ever in terms of just, like, pressure. He's had more eyes on him probably than half the people in this draft, maybe. Obviously, there's a few outliers, the top players right now going into the draft. But yeah, absolutely incredible move by the Kansas City Chiefs. Rees-Zammit going to them, signed on Friday, 3-year contract. He's going in as hybrid. They have him listed as running back, but I know he's also excited to dabble at wide receiver because he's probably going to be the fastest wide receiver that the Kansas City Chiefs have right now. And it was interesting. A lot of people were saying, like, he needs to bulk up and whatnot, and he's not quick enough, stuff like that. Just crazy. Rashee Rice ran a 4.46. But there we go. Rees-Zammit, 6'3", 209, 24.2 miles an hour top speed, 4.43, 40, 29-inch vert, 9'7", broad jump, 14 tries in 32 Welsh caps, 42 tries for Gloucester, his professional team that he played for, in 77 games. The youngest British and Irish Lion, the first Welsh American football player. Rees-Zammit signs for the Kansas City Chiefs. Let me know your thoughts below. I know this is a rugby podcast, but I needed to talk about it because this has been huge news, not only in Welsh rugby, but in American football. And just over here, I've had so many comments from my friends over here, like, who is Rees-Zammit? Like, why is that the guy you were talking about? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So I can't wait. If the Kansas City Chiefs come to Washington, D.C. to play the Commanders, I might have to go now. I might have to go. Anyway, back to regular rugby podcast episodes coming very soon. I have more to talk about on the URC and the future of Welsh rugby coming this week. So if you are new here, give this video a thumbs up. If you want to learn more about rugby and you're an American football player or watcher, you don't know much about rugby and you're new here, just all you got to do is subscribe, all the good stuff. I very much appreciate it. I do appreciate your time watching this one. Rees-Zammit is an absolute incredible specimen when it comes to rugby, and I'm sure he will be for you Kansas City Chiefs as well. My name is Ryan. This is the Chip Over the Top Rugby podcast. I'll catch you very, very soon.